So I have something that happened today that was interesting that I forgot to stay dressed for. It was today is one of my friend's birthday, but 2 days ago was his daughter's birthday, and he's been like hyping up his daughter's birthday because it's a COVID birthday. She's real little, so it's kind of sad they don't get to have friends, family over. So they decided to do a Animal Crossing birthday. And so it's like he kept saying, come dress up, bring gifts. You're going to make your own cocktails. I was very confused because I thought that meant like there was going to be a bunch of us parading around his house dressed as animals. And like, looking like Tom Nook and all the other furry friends in the town. I was completely wrong. It turned out he meant to get on the game Animal Crossing and go to their house in the game. So I was dressed up as a raccoon and Aaron was dressed up as a kangaroo. We show up to the place.
Oh no.
It's like, Luke, why would you think that's safe? It's like, I thought we were just gonna like socially distance, like parade, like with just like wave at them. Like I didn't realize it was I don't have Animal Crossing. And then he said like the code to his house, the code to their game. And I thought, oh, he's got a new front door code. He's letting people in the front door. All right. And that was my day today. It was pretty cool. It was pretty good to walk around dressed as a raccoon the entire day. And then Aaron was dressed as a kangaroo. Anyway, welcome viewers. This is MERS. I don't have a prepared acronym. I'll jump to someone else in a second. And we are doing a recap of episode 5 of Wandvision. This episode's titled, oh man, I already missed it.
On a very special episode.
On a very special episode. Yeah. All right, I'm going to look at Alandra. What happened this episode?
I like how I've become the official recapper, and I'm totally okay with that.
Spread it around.
I have done the recap every episode that I have been on, and I'm fine with owning that. I'm great at recaps from too many years of playing D&D and having to remind people what they did last week.
I know for a fact. I know
you
for
are
sure
so much better at this than the rest of us. I mean,
true fact.
Because mine would be like 5 words, like I don't know, it was the '80s. But
I mean, you're not wrong. It was the '80s, and that is where we started out. We finally got our '80s sitcom. As Wanda and Vision go about trying to put the baby twins to bed. It's a lot. They're frazzled. Everything is terrible. Agnes shows up to help and has a real weird interaction that Vision is very uncomfortable with as she makes a reference to taking it over again once he kind of interrupts the scene, if you will. And he didn't want to have a little side conversation. It's very strange. They realize the kids aren't crying anymore, look over, and the kids are indeed now 5 years old and old enough to not need to be put to bed as babies. We then cut to a great title sequence, followed by a dip back over to the sword facility, where everyone is still watching the sitcom, trying to figure out what's happening. We see Monica getting scanned, as everyone's trying to figure out what happened to her while she was within what will come to be termed as the Hex. Thank you, Dr. Darcy Lewis.
You called it the Hex.
Because it's a hexagon. It's catching on. It's not catching on. Anyway. So we get some debriefs from the sword agents. There's a bit of tension in the sword crew as some folks seem to think this is kind of in that they use the word terrorist-y vein, mostly our director, while Monica and Darcy and Jimmy all are kind of more of the opinion that this is not that, particularly Monica, who thinks this doesn't seem to be in any way like a deliberate political statement or anything. It's just something that's going on in Wanda's head, as best she can figure out. We proceed through. Vision is having a real weird time inside the sitcom and starts to kind of break the reality of it. He's questioning a lot of things. His workplace now has computers. Welcome to the 80s. We have the internet now. It's amazing. They get an email from Sword talking about what's going on with Wanda mind controlling a bunch of people in the city of Westview, New Jersey. He shorts out the computer to get rid of the email. He talks to his coworker, whose name I'm gonna double check. It's the same coworker that we've had this whole time. Norm.
Yeah.
He talks to Norm, who's acting really weird. He does his little vision brain glitch thing, and Norm totally starts talking, like fully spills that Wanda's in his head, is controlling everything. It hurts. He can't contact his family. He needs to know what they are, like all this sort of stuff. And then Vision sort of resets him and has a little bit of an existential crisis. Meanwhile, Sword, experimentation is happening, and Monica, after messing around with trying to figure out if reality is being manipulated or changed, or how Wanda is affecting physical matter versus perception, makes a stunning revelation and has the grand, brilliant idea to send something from the era in through so that Wanda wouldn't have any reason to manipulate it. Maybe they can get closer because it already fits the scene. Some conflict ensues with Wanda and Vision. Some conflict ensues with the Sword agents. They get an old school 80s drone in to try to contact and talk to Wanda. Oh, the kids find a dog. That's right. That's the other plot line. The kids find a dog. Vision and Wanda fight about this a little bit because Vision doesn't think that it's appropriate for their kids to be taking care of a dog. Agnes comes over, magically just shows up with like a doghouse and a bunch of dog toys. Like, I heard that you found a pet. He's like, honey, we shouldn't, like, this is not gonna work. So finally Wanda does the, we've decided that you can have a pet when you're older. And the twins are like, how much older? And Vision says 10. And they immediately age up to age 10 so that they can keep the dog. Vision is a little bit horrified. Wanda is like, oh, cool, that's a thing now. Anyway, yes, Sword finds an old school 80s drone, sends it in to try to talk to Wanda. Wanda is having none of it, at which point our beloved director issues a hit order, or a fire order, which Monica is like, wait, this drone isn't armed, what the actual? And then everything goes black. She loses control of the drone. They lose all the video feed. She is horrified, and the next thing you know, there's a breach at the Sword facility as Wanda steps out of the hex. She's back in her standard Avengers uniform, dragging the destroyed drone with her. There is a very tense conversation in which she informs them that they need to fuck off and leave her alone, as one might politely put it. She has everything she wants, and they need to leave. She does some cool manipulation of reminding everybody that she is, in fact, the strongest Avenger, and they need to stop messing with her, and then proceeds to return inside the bubble of her own creation. Meanwhile, sitcom plot takes a twist for the special episode side of things as Sparky, the dog, has gone missing. The kids are out looking. They discover that Sparky the dog has tragically died and must confront the realities of death. They get ready to age up to skip past the grieving process, and Wanda talks to them about, like, just because this is a bad feeling doesn't mean it's a feeling you can skip, and you can't just take the shortcuts to get out of it. Interesting thoughts here. More on that momentarily. Sword continues nosing around, trying to figure out what to do now. And finally, Vision comes home. He comes home in the midst of this whole dealing with the death of the dog, and then he and Wanda have a sort of tense confrontation in the kitchen in which he tells her that he knows that she is mind manipulating these people and that she needs to stop. They get into a fight. We see both of them activate some powers, and we learn, kind of horrifically, that Vision does not remember anything prior to Westview, and it scares him. He is frightened. He is concerned. He does not like that Wanda is clearly doing something that he doesn't know about. She tells him, it's fine, this is our lives. All you need to know is that you're my husband, and you're the father of these children, and everything is great, and why do you want anything else other than this perfect life? They're in the midst of this fight. The doorbell rings. This is a common thing that's been happening through the whole show so far, where, like, whenever something gets a little tense, somebody shows up and interrupts it, and we have to move on. Wanda looks at Vision and says, I didn't do that, but you don't believe me. And he's like, it's really hard not to. She goes, she opens the door, and we get the much anticipated expensive cameo that we've all been hoping would happen, as her brother, Pietro, the dead one, walks through the door and is like, hey, can't a brother give his sister a longest hug? And we get possibly the best line, in my opinion, of the episode, as Darcy Lewis, who is watching this, looks and sees and goes, she recast Pietro? Since he's played by a different actor than he was in Age of Ultron, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And that's pretty much the summary of what happened. There's a lot of detailed stuff that I'm sure we can get into about format and style, but that's the summary of events. Not as clean as my usual, I apologize.
This is also why I don't like 40-minute episodes. Too many things happen. Remember when you would watch Game of Thrones, there was an hour-long episode and only one thing happened? I miss that.
I avoided ever watching Game of Thrones because it was an hour long and nothing happened, and I just didn't care. At least things happened in this episode.
Okay, that was an excellent recap. Thank you. Gold star.
Thanks.
Sorry, pizza just arrived. If you saw me eat a pizza, I'm still going to eat it. And jalapeno poppers. So I guess open discussion. Does this change any of our thoughts before about any conspiracies or ideas? Did anything we think of not happen? And what was just reaffirmed? It sounds like, Tony, you feel like you're completely right.
I mean, in the general sense that this episode took place in the 80s and the kids aged. Like, I got the, I can't remember. Did we talk about Pietro possibly coming back? Was that an option?
I pitched it last week that because there was a lot of the discussion of, because he had come up and because we got the reveal last episode of Vision was dead and is now alive. I pitched that if we're dealing with potential recreation or resurrection issues, that I was interested to see if Pietro would reappear. So,
well, a point for you, Alandra.
Thanks. It's just what I wanted.
Well, that's been the fun of this for me. Has been, making these predictions and then going, just the fun of and then this happened. I'm glad the show could still surprise me. It's not just, we figured this out in the first episode, this is going to happen. So, going off of a prediction, I will correct one thing, Alandra, from your recap. When Norm is not under mind control, he doesn't say Wanda's controlling him. He just says, she's in my head.
Thank you. That is a strong point, and you are absolutely correct.
So, which still...
That's important.
Suggests that maybe this isn't entirely Wanda. And obviously, when Pietro shows up, she's like, I didn't do that,
Right.
It's like, okay, so who is it? My money is still on Agnes. She showed up in this episode and she says, Auntie Agnes is here and she's got a few tricks up her sleeve. I said, what tricks? What is going on with your wordplay?
And we did get confirmation, too, of a point that one of you guys made when they started IDing the characters, because we saw the big board up again, and she doesn't have an ID. She's the only one not ID'd on the conspiracy wall.
What was the other thing?
I'm giving myself half a point for the fact that the kids aged up mid-episode.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although
I wasn't expecting them to just show it directly like that. It's kind of surprising. I was just like, oh, okay. That's a little bit more direct than I was expecting, but
and you got it twice.
Yeah.
And
I think it was kind of actually with them aging in front of you. I mean, the babies, that's a cutaway. The babies are gone and then it's behind. But when they morph in front of you, that I felt so nostalgic because that came up so often in the 80s of people morphing.
Oh, yeah.
Willow was the first one where they had multiple animals morphing into one character. And that was 1980 some odd.
88, I think.
80. That sounds right.
Hmm.
But morphing was definitely like, here it is, check it out, wave of the future, morphing. And so to have like a whole thing of just, yes, they morphed in front of the entire audience. Whoa. Sorry, I got really giddy about morphing.
Well, we know you like
You were saying something.
weird stuff like that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
No, well, and I know we'll get to this eventually, but when Jimmy Woo says, at this rate, they're going to be empty nesters by the end of the night. I don't think that's specifically a reference to the 80s sitcom Empty Nest, but I am choosing to believe that it is because I liked that show. So, like, yay, why not? It's and which I think Empty Nest is a Disney property. So, why can't they exist in the MCU too?
I think you're right. I think it is.
That sounds right.
I think after this episode, my conspiracy soapbox. Whoa, the cat just jumped on the table. Do not step on the buttons. Do not step on the buttons. You go back where you came from. There we go.
This is a very special episode for us too.
Kitty, you stay down there. I feel like my conspiracy soapbox has gotten a lot weirder. I have a lot of like weird ideas, but I want to throw it over to Otis first. Mm-hmm. For this episode, was there anything for you? What do you have predicted going forward, or where do you think this is going to go forward?
So, I think that there's still at least one or two more like third parties that we don't know about. Agnes might be one of them. Also, maybe AIM is still a player. We don't know that they might be like have somehow instigated this whole situation somehow. Because when Vision and Wanda were talking towards the end of the episode, she's like, I don't even know how this happened. Like, this is just happening. I know I can kind of control it, but she doesn't seem entirely in control. So I think that maybe there's another party that's like at least containing it, or maybe like setting up, giving her props to like manipulate, including the town. But further on, I think we're going to see a lot more of Vision, like, testing the limits of this town and maybe trying to escape, or maybe figuring out that he's actually dead and who knows what. I don't know what to make of the children yet, honestly. They mentioned that the children are specifically Wanda's, and so they're like, oh yeah, no, they're not actually in the town, like, they're hers. So are they actual children? Are they some weird creatures? Because, like, normal people can age themselves up whenever they want. So that's a weird thing. I'm hoping that a lot of people are getting excited about like multiple universes being like integrated into this. I'm not ready to jump into that shift yet. I think it's still possibly contained into one universe, especially with Pietro. I think Pietro is probably just going to be some dude who lives in the town who got like literally like dressed up to like look like her brother, and they just sent him to be like, oh yeah, no, he looks close enough. He's her brother now. Let's see what happens.
So you're saying that this is not specifically the Evan Peters Quicksilver from the X-Men movies.
Yeah, I think he's probably just some schmuck who lived in Westview, or whatever you want to call it, the town, and was like maybe the closest match, and then somebody was like, oh crap, we need somebody to like prevent them from arguing and like unraveling this whole thing. Shove him in the door, and that's just what happened.
So you feel like that was all a fan service thing?
Not necessarily fan service for Wanda, like kind of distract.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, even having Evan Peters, who played Quicksilver, in a separate
Yeah, like you.
I mean, before Disney owned Fox, basically.
Yeah, I think that part is probably more fan service than anything. I don't think they're necessarily going for like these universes are connected now, but maybe they are. I don't know.
I like that a lot because I like the idea that there is an actual reason why he's showing up, and maybe it is tied to whoever else has manipulative powers here is trying to get a foot in the door or disrupt whatever Wanda is doing. But then there's the meta layer of like, we're gonna do this by having Evan Peters play a character that he has played but in a different branch of the franchise, because it does create that like fan service gotcha for the viewers, but I hope that it has a deeper story reason that Pietro is here, and it's not just for the sake of having the Luke Skywalker cameo.
Right. I'm hoping so too.
Which I all described it as. I thought that was hilarious. It's like, we have a Luke Skywalker moment too. Evan Peters, everybody, from the movies.
The rumor is that there may be an Ian McKellen cameo in the
Really?
because Magneto is Wanda and Pietro's father in one of the comics. So I'm more tolerant of fan servicey stuff than other people, and even though I'm not that deep into Marvel stuff, I'm like, it'd be nice to see Ian McKellen again. I hope he's doing all right. And he is,
I don't know.
one of the great acting processes of all time. He just Sir Ian.
And I don't know. I was rewatching the Hobbit a while ago, which I don't like the Hobbit, and it's kind of like right after watching Lord of the Rings, Gandalf, and then watching the very beginning of the Hobbit. It's like, oh yeah, you got older. Oh, this is sad. Like, it's not sad. You're acting in circles. This is amazing, but you are definitely like a little tired, definitely a little sleepier.
Mm-hmm.
The cats are now fighting under the table.
Yeah, it's kind of like how in Rogue One, no one questions why Darth Vader suddenly sounds 40 years older, and then 20 minutes later in Star Wars. So,
Yeah. So I wrote down some notes, and I want to throw these at you guys because I didn't double check a lot of this. So I guess if there's a tag for not fact checking, we should put that down. So I think we need to be paying more attention to the opening recaps. They're unskippable, I've noticed. And I think there's changes in dialogue in some of it.
Yep.
So in this last one, the recap is going, and I don't notice a thing until the very end, where Vision says, "Where is I forget what
Geraldine.
Rambo's alias is when she's in Geraldine." So where's Geraldine? And instead of Wanda saying she went home, she says she's gone. She didn't belong here. Because in the last one, she said she had to go home. Gone. She didn't belong here. It's like, whoa. Now, it could be just potentially what's really happening or something else. There's definitely, I think, something to check. I don't think all the recaps are accurate to what actually were shown in the episodes. There's little notes I made, like Wanda has no magical effect on the children. She can't control them whatsoever. And then there was I know we've theory about Agnes being another like controlling force in the neighborhood, because Dottie's gone. That's not a thing. We haven't seen Dottie for ages. But there's a thing, because she's unaffected, seems rather unaffected by the mind controllingness that everyone else has, and when it comes time to that super awkward, and I loved how awkward it was, actually uncomfortable to watch that break where she asks if she should take this again. There's this moment where it's like, okay, she's talking to Wanda as if Wanda is a director. And then I thought, like, wait a minute, no, her thing is to come in a script. She dings on the door, comes in, comforts the children, and Vision's going off book. And now she can't, like, the whole thing's messed up. She doesn't know what to do and asks if they can reset. So there was this thing, was like, oh, wait, anyone who is summoned in has to act a certain way. And if it goes wrong, they don't know what to do. Like, I'm wondering if we're going to see more moments like if someone comes in and has a pizza and they say, we're not hungry. And they're like, sorry, I'm eating pizza. So that's my reference.
Yeah, it could be like a matter of like they've been programmed and not necessarily like being actively controlled. And so that's just like one of those things where like, it's like, oh, we have no, situation to handle these variables. Like, what do we do? And then they like kind of break out. Yeah. And trying to reset themselves. Like Norm also or Herb did when he was talking to Agnes. That's still like a thing that I'm not quite sure about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have a conspiracy on Herb now. I think Herb's in on it. I know we didn't see Herb for a while, but I think Herb's...
Okay, but like, Luke, when you say we haven't seen these people for a while, you mean we did not see them in this episode. That is all that means. We are 5 episodes in, and we just had a couple of people who were not prominent members of this episode, which also makes sense, because now we're having to intercut 2 storylines. It's not just the pure sitcom anymore, it's the sitcom, and also what S.W.O.R.D. is doing. So we're now having to do the dual narrative. So
I don't know. This episode was 40 minutes long, twice as long as any other. We haven't seen them for a while.
10 minutes longer.
We might as well said we haven't. I include all the credits, even the other voice actors from other countries. Apparently,
the more exasperated you get, the closer to the moon you're going.
Right,
just FYI.
So anyway, I thought those were like interesting note. And this all comes into a weird thing I have an idea for. All right. This word, whatever his name is acting very, very aggressive, and he reminds me of Colonel Ross, who is Betty Ross's father, Hulk's kind of nemesis or antagonist. It's like you. So I feel like, all right. So it seems like everything that is directors of all the agencies are being overly aggressive to nip things in the bud. I'm looking at all my notes. We keep seeing there was this whole thing I have about a tiger. There's a tiger on the kitchen table, and I don't know if you, Alandra, or you, Otis, read The Vision, but they talk about how there's this very special plant that Wanda and other Sokovian people have eaten, like occult people, including, I think, Agatha in the comic books. And it's a poisonous plant, and you can't consume the plant. You'll just die. What you do is you consume animals that have eaten the plant. And I think in the comic book, it's a tiger or jaguar. I gotta go look it up again. Eats the plant, dies, and then they eat the animal to get visions or get extra powers and so on and so forth. And this is something Wanda's done. So I just started like jumping up and down, very excited to find out the dog. And it was this, I think for me, it was just like, maybe there being like a tiger on the table, and then Agatha referring to herself as a tiger, and then the dog dying and Agatha wrapping it up. It's just, it all cried foul in really weird ways for me. There's been this kind of ongoing thing about how a lot of this show is also set up or referencing the Fantastic Four. There's nothing blatantly in front of us. There's like little nods of like, talking about an aerospace engineer, which is Mr. Fantastic. Earlier in the episode, the guy who ends up in the beekeeper outfit has a name that's related to his last name's Richards. Reed Richards is the head of the Fantastic Four. And then we have Monica being exposed to a bunch of radiation, and now she can't be seen on X-rays and stuff. So it's like, okay, is this going to be somehow tied to the grounded astronauts and the fact that we're preparing a potentially faulty vessel to go into this world, and maybe they won't come back out the same way? That'd be kind of weird. That's a crazy. I'm going into craziness. I feel like I'm doing the bad thing where I'm pulling threads from nothing.
You are spiraling, but it's not without reason. Like, there's some interesting stuff here. It's also funny, I have to say, because you were hot on the, like, Mephisto theory a couple episodes ago.
Scott.
Here's the thing, though. But this is the episode. Now I'm starting to see that on the internet. I had not heard it from anyone but you. And then after this episode, I'm starting to see, like, joke memes about, like, Darcy was wearing red lipstick. She's Mephisto. And I'm like... Oh, so the theory that we pitched at episode 3 is now everybody's fan theory. Interesting.
We're a step ahead. Mephisto's gone. So I do... Well, all right, okay. So no one notices also that Vision is using his powers. Like, when he turns off the computer, no one says anything, and that, I think, is unsettling for him.
Yep.
We also have this thing where Wanda... so there's an awkward moment where Monica doesn't want to even think about Captain Marvel. So there's some beef there that we don't know about.
No, we know what the beef is.
What's the beef?
Her Monica's mother, Maria Rambeau, was also a Captain Marvel. This is a comic book canon. She was Captain Marvel briefly. She had the Captain Marvel powers. She declined, but she's a contemporary. She and Carol Danvers flew together. They were pilots together. So, like, the reason she doesn't want to address Captain Marvel is because it's probably at the baseline, the painful reminder that Carol has magical space superpowers that make her essentially immortal, and her mom died of fucking cancer while she was blipped into oblivion by an all-powerful space god.
All right.
That makes sense.
Sorry, I really like the Rambos, and I want them to have their own franchise. They're great.
Yeah.
Kids unaffected. All right, so they reveal in that little bit that Wanda's reconfiguring reality. She's not making new things happen. She's taking what's already there and reconfiguring it. That's why the pants are part Kevlar. Because Rambeau went in with a bulletproof vest. So here's the creepy thing. What are the kids made of? Like, if she's just... Yeah, like, if the only way she's making things in this world is to reconfigure it, what are the kids made of? That's creepy. That I find super unsettling. Like, what if this whole thing, the charade, falls apart and it's just a bunch of dog parts?
I mean, it could be. Like, they could be made up of the entire town, like bits and pieces of the entire town, maybe. Or who knows?
They're the Westview equivalent of hot dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not even that. That goes for, like, anyone who's suddenly appeared, including her brother. What if that was her brother's body, but she didn't remember what he looked like?
Oh,
like,
what was,
like, you know, like
the TV show? It was on Nickelodeon, and there was an alien, and at some point he needed, like, oh, where are your parents? So he took, like, a store mannequin, and that became his dad.
Yeah. Oh, what was that show?
Oh,
it was because the only thing I remember is, like, anytime his dad would say, "Oh, I like that shirt, $29.95." Like,
yeah.
So I wonder if it's like, quick, get the store mannequin. No. The more I think about the biology of their children, I'm like, so she had sex with a dead robot? What is this?
Yeah.
Like, where, because this is the part I find illogical. All the superpowers, that's fine. But where did these babies come from?
Well,
or are we going the midi-chlorian routes? Are we manipulating the midi-chlorians in the air? Are we going there?
Well, and this is the other thing that I think is an interesting question for me about like their powers, because like we see them just like do that little like kind of glitch and age up and just fully morph, like fully on screen happens in the show, because like the sword agents reference it, they see it happen as well, so like that doesn't get kind of censored in the way that some of the stuff gets kind of censored by Wanda or whoever. So that just happens, and Wanda doesn't seem to necessarily have any direct control over it. But if I'm still operating off of this is clearly drawing from the Young Avengers, setup of these are Tommy and Billy, the children of the Vision and Scarlet Witch. In which case, they also have questions about how they're both doing that, because that is something that theoretically Billy, who goes by Wiccan, might be able to do, because he's got the reality manipulating powers similar to his mother. Tommy's power is super speed. He is Quicksilver 2.0. He's just super fast. His superhero name is just Speed. So, like, I'm curious to see if maybe this isn't like there, if it's a reference to the Young Avengers and it's a reference to the twins who exist in other properties as well, not just Young Avengers, but if what's happening with them is more tied to Wanda's manipulation of reality or any other players who we have in the game that are like creating this bubble world that they are existing in. Because that's really, because the kids seem to activate it themselves, or maybe that's a hint at who else has control here. If somebody was able to put in other beings that have reality manipulation powers to represent the children.
So
yeah, it kind of plays back into what I was thinking before of like this kind of like mysterious parasitic relationship that like is still kind of in the back of my mind, where like maybe she's raising somebody else's children or some being that is like pretending to be her kids. And yeah, so like she's like training them somehow, or like giving like her powers, or they're leeching her powers from her or something like that.
That's
That's a
interesting.
possibility.
okay, so on that, this is all right. Whew, okay, here's the conspiracy.
Okay.
Don't get too excited. You'll end up on the moon again.
I know. So I've been thinking about that. About like, all right, not the moon, but we have Monica outright says you're a telepath, but like obviously there are things that even Wanda can't keep in check. We've talked a lot about AIM, mainly because of the hexagon shape of everything. I like the idea that Agnes, who is unaffected by telepathy, it seems like she just shows up, and Wanda doesn't seem to say what she's doing, just kind of accepts what she's doing. So what if we see in the first few episodes like Strucker and Shield or Tony's Wanda's life as a normal person, and then the Largos brand commercial where it's just like, or Lagos brand commercial where it's just like, oh yeah, Wanda, you mess things up yourself. Reference to the city
Lagos
where she
incident.
actually, yeah. Especially that they use red all over the place. You got red on your hands. You got red everywhere. So I'm having this things like, okay, the kids can't be controlled by Wanda. Who else in this whole MCU would want two kids or two beings who can compete with Wanda? And so I think it goes back to AIM and back to Strucker, to Hydra and stuff. Hopefully next week we'll find out Mephisto needs kids, and then my conspiracy theory comes right back full circle. But I'm thinking that these kids, the goal was to have these kids be made so that they can then be someone else's property. Yeah, I think there's a thing there. I also noticed that I had a weird thought, like, okay, if 80s things can go in unnoticed, I mean, we're going to end up in the 90s and in the 2000s. Like, what do people just are then able just to walk straight in?
Yeah,
Like,
that's a
no
good
issue?
point.
The closer we get to now, is it just going to be no, like just shoot up the place? I don't know if they're going to shoot up the place, but
I imagine by the time they get to now, the kids will be fully grown, and then something will either go terribly wrong or terribly right.
I thought it was fun, and I don't know if any. Yeah.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
Because we just.
And I don't
really
know if
lost
any
your
of you
audio.
caught this, but we're in the
Oh,
80s, and we're in the 80s. What?
Oh no!
Oh.
Are you on the moon? I think you're on the moon.
This is like what's the
I will keep
Dr.
talking out
Who,
loud
or it's
until
the,
you say
weird
you hear
loop.
me.
No, we
Um,
hear you, but I don't know how much the delay is.
I don't
It's
know.
bad because you're just talking, waiting for us to respond, and we're all responding, but you're not hearing us back. So
Oh geez, 3 minutes.
No, can't be that long.
I mean, I
Here,
also
let me
checked-
try something. Shave and a haircut.
2 bits.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah.
You're coming
You're
back.
coming back. You're coming back. You got too excited. We're learning that the thing is when you get too excited, that's when it starts glitching.
Stop
Okay,
having
so I'll
much
try
fun.
I'll try
And
to do
it's
this
up to
real
the
quick.
three of
then.
us not to get him so excitable.
Yeah, clearly.
So this all took place in the 80s, but it's not until Wanda goes outside, red outfit, we see the red magic happen,
Mm-hmm.
and then the entire perimeter goes red. So that's the only, and then her accent comes back. So it's the only point in this 80s episode that we have a Soviet Red Scare moment.
Mm.
And that's what I got from that. I was like, okay, this is our Red Scare moment. This is like, there's she drops the accent and reveals who she actually is, comrade. And I don't know. I thought that was great. Our Red Scare moment happens in front of a bunch of military guys. And then the fact that I think controlling all the guys to point guns is actually a reference to Magneto, because that happens in the first X-Men movie. And I was like, oh, yeah, that happened in the first X-Men movie. Magneto gets everyone to point a gun at, I forget who, at each other? I forget what happens. Or all the guns point back at the cops. And now she's pointing all the guns back at the guy commanding the guns, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, my conspiracy corner is now all on AIM, and that the Fantastic Four are going to show up. I can't wait for the devil to show up next episode. When we get to the 90s, it's all Buffy themed. Oh my god, what if it's all Buffy themed?
I mean, it could be the Buffy Halloween episode, because the next episode is going to be the episode when we get her in the classic Scarlet Witch comics outfit, which was a very 90s tradition of the costume party episode. You've got that sort of, you know, the Buffy Halloween costume episode. You've got that, I think this is slightly later than 90s, I think this is early aughts, but even like the Legally Blonde showing up at the party not knowing it's not a costume. Like, that's a classic late 90s, early aughts trope, so.
Yeah.
And Joss Whedon already a part of the MCU. So.
That's a good
Sad
point.
but true.
I was about to say, am I allowed to mention him? Is that
You are allowed to mention him, just know that I'm gonna roast him. So
Isn't he canceled? I thought he was canceled. Did we cancel him?
we tried, and now he's got his own show coming to some other streaming network, and it's basically like I'm trying to do Buffy, but in the Victorian era, but I didn't learn anything from the critiques that I've been given in the last 30 years, so we'll see. Yeah, you can subscribe to our Patreon to unlock Alandra roasts Joss Whedon insufferably content. If you want more of that, hit me up and I will happily oblige. But that's not this
what we
episode.
should do. That's what we should do instead of a technical difficulties thing. Just
Alandra just roasts
pre-recorded
people.
rant.
Although, interesting that we're bringing up, like, real life people who are involved with things, because one of the first things I caught on to is we got a theme song with, like, lyrics, and I was like, oh, this is a very catchy bop. I'm curious. I watched the credits to see who it was, and it was Kristen Anderson Lopez and Robert Lopez, writers of Frozen. Disney just bringing everybody in.
Oh yeah, they've done the theme for every episode so far.
Yeah, that's
They've become like the new Sherman Brothers. It's like, no, we need a song. Get the Anderson Lopez.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed it until specifically this episode, and specifically because the theme song was so spot on in that, like, Full House vibe of the, like, yes, that catchy, slightly morbid but still uplifting tune.
Yeah, I think like Family Ties.
Very, very Family Ties. Very Growing Pains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Both of those referenced in the title sequence.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The
like with the cutting of
and then the Growing Pains photos, which I love that someone's job was to Photoshop baby Paul Bettany becoming baby.
Yeah.
Even I know, as a casual Marvel person, I'm like, wait a minute. Shouldn't this just be screenshots from Ultron? Like, isn't it like?
I was hoping to see, like, just a naked robot in a tube.
And somewhere on the internet you can.
Oh God! Don't Rule 63 us right now, Tony. We've gotten so far. We made it 5 whole episodes.
Do you think people are already making erotic fan fiction about our critiques? That's wild.
Oh God, no! Sorry guys, I'm not going to be joining you for any subsequent week. I have to go wash my entire life in bleach. Tony, you're the cute one now.
Yay for Succession. Also, did anyone catch? There's a couple of Full House shots in the opening credits. Having the picnic and like, it's so meta. I love it.
Also, when they're doing the dog training, when Billy's doing the dog, it's sit Sparky sit good dog, which is a reference to the sit Ubu sit good dog, which is from Family Ties.
Which I'm so mad that had to be pointed out to me. I'm like, oh my God, like he says it verbatim. And I missed. Also, apparently, because I realized, I don't think I've ever seen a single episode of Family Ties. Because I don't think it was ever on in reruns when I was a kid. Like, anyway. But apparently the Kiss the Cook sign in the kitchen is the exact same from the Family Ties set. Which I'm like, oh, wow, that's a deep cut. Good for you. Also, I got a little bit of, in the theme song, Greatest American Hero. The Believe It or Not. Like a little bit of the background gave me that vibe. Which means that since watching it, I've had that song stuck in my head, but then it always segues into George Costanza's Answering Machine.
Yes.
Yup.
Which I'm like, there were songs to have in my head. Also, shout out to my friend Ryan, who pointed out, not a sitcom, but an honorable mention, that basically the idea of using a sitcom to delve into really dark territory, that's Too Many Cooks.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is kind of long form Too Many Cooks. We're just getting darker and darker as we go.
Yeah. No, yep. Well, and that was the thing, too, is, like, the very special episode, like, that was, like, the hallmark of the 80s was that kind of after-school special, or the episode where they have to put the disclaimer up first about, where we're going to deal with some, like, real deep issue, like teen pregnancy or whatever. And in this case, obviously, it was death and mortality, which obviously segs great off of the revelation we had in the last. And I think I didn't mention this in my recap, but like one of the other things that we see specifically when Sword is doing the debrief is they have the footage. They get clearance to show the footage of Wanda supposedly breaking into a Sword facility, like literally breaking in and stealing the like dismembered pieces of Vision's body that are being stored there, which helps to explain like kind of a little bit of what's going on. But now it also raises that question based on the fight that Vision and Wanda have at the end of like, was that her operating under her own control in just this sort of like grief rampage of like, you've taken everything from me yet again and I need him back? Or is there something like, is there some force at work that is manipulating the master manipulator?
Yeah, and it's just sort of interesting that, like, okay, she's using the sitcom to hide and to kind of not even acknowledge her grief, but just sort of hide from it. And yet, as sitcoms evolved, we started getting very special episodes. We started bringing the real world into the sitcom world. And so now, kind of, if she is the one that is doing this to herself, it started to, be careful what you wish for. It started to backfire on her. Like, oh, well, hey, look, we're in the 80s now. It's a very special episode. It's got the disclaimer.
It's not just escapism anymore or the perfect family anymore. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. It's tackling issues. Also, just something I had written down. I hope everyone who was an adult in the 80s is ashamed of how they looked.
Oh my god, Paul Bettany's hair. Can we talk about Paul Bettany's hair for a minute?
For me, it was the moment when Sparky had died and Paul Bettany shows up, and it's like the wide tie with the fingers. I'm just like, oh, I know I'm not supposed to laugh in this moment, but this is wow. And I mean, it is a testament to the show's makeup, wardrobe, costumes, props, people like. It all looks so good that I'm like, ooh, this is too real.
That's a thing that we haven't really talked about in kind of a meta level, because like they talk about it internally within the show about like the production design of the sitcom that Sword is watching, but also like just in general as a show itself. For us, like this is a massive amount of work that is going into taking these like superhero characters and concepts and then translating that into all these different decades, and even doing the black and white in the first couple of episodes and everything. Like the production design on this is incredibly immersive and incredibly well done, and I very much appreciate how much they're doing to sell the concept that they're going with here.
That reminds me, I read this later. Apparently the first episode was filmed in front of a studio audience.
Really?
Which would explain, like, there was somebody like, why is Paul Bettany, of everybody, so strangely nervous? Like, he's nervous because, whatnots, but even there's some strange beats where it's like, you seem a little extra on edge. There's more adrenaline going through you. And, because there was an actual audience that day actually laughing to the bits and stuff.
Yeah. But that also is an interesting thing, because I hadn't even thought of that, but it does really, like, kind of going back to that first episode, now that we've kind of seen some of the progression of what's actually happening, it sells really well in the sense of, like, Vision himself being, like, weirdly nervous and agitated in a way that is not actually normal for Vision. Vision is pure logic, because he's a robot. And so seeing that level of, like, emotional undercurrent from him, and now realizing that, like, as we get the revelation at the end of this episode, where he's like, I'm scared. Like, I don't understand what's going on, and I am scared. And having to admit that to Wanda is fascinating. Also, in that whole scene, call out of, they have the fight, and it happens while the credits are rolling. Like, legitimately, like, Wanda tries to roll the credits. She's like, I'm going to bed, and rolls the credits to end the episode, and he won't let her. And then the big reveal of Pietro happens after, which is both a nod to the changing format, where you have, like, the post-credit scene, obviously very common in the MCU, and it's something that, like, you're seeing the evolution again of the sitcom format. So,
yes, I like that. Also, and this may just be me, maybe I'm just reading too much into these scenes. So, Vision comes back.
What am I doing?
Vision presumably comes back from burying Sparky in the backyard or something, and then that's when he has the argument with Wanda, and that's when he says, "I don't remember anything, and I'm scared." What did he do before that conversation? He washed his hands. He washes his hands of the whole thing. Maybe. or I'm reading too much into it.
At this point, I don't think it's possible to read too much into this. They've actually confirmed some of the things that we predicted. So
also, my new prediction from what we've talked about is that Herb is Mephisto. Is that what I'm getting from this?
Maybe. I don't know.
Hashtag Herb is Mephisto. Let's get that.
All right.
do we think Doctor Strange or any of those of that crew is involved? Because they also do a lot of time and reality manipulation. So, like, that's another branch that could potentially pop up just to throw things for a loop.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Wanda is in the next Doctor Strange. Is that a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, she is.
So maybe it's not Ian McKellen making it. Maybe it's Benedict Cumberbatch showing up at the end.
That'd be wild. That'd be.
I'd like to see the hoots and hollers the studio audience gives him when he shows up.
It's just a lot of people yelling, "Take your shirt off!" and being like, "Why does this keep happening? No!"
You have a cricket face.
Him and Kumail and Johnny, take it off.
Yeah. I had a remembered two things, or no, now I only remember one of them. Sparky is a reference to Vision's actual dog, which was a robot dog named Sparky. And I had another one, but now I'm going to leave it to this.
Similarly, yes.
Well, it was a real dog that died that Vision brought back to life as a robot dog.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yes, another bringing back to life thing.
Yep.
Because Vision's made of, like, his personality is part of someone else's, like, identity in their brain. So in the comic book, he takes the dog's idea of itself and makes that into code into a robot. As we go later into sitcoms, I had two thoughts. One, things are going to get probably darker. We haven't had our drug abuse episode yet. And then, but as things get closer to now, is the town going to start looking like it used to? Like, will the town then become, like, you know, I bring up the whole thing about, like, modern day things going in once it gets to modern day. But I'm actually more wondering if, like, what's this town look like right before Wanda showed up?
I think that it's going to be all sorts of mishmash because the things that are happening around Wanda and Vision are probably being, like, you know, altered and, like, put together, like, on the fly. That's my theory anyway. And so, like, parts of the city are probably, like, half constructed and stuff like that. But meanwhile, you know, Agnes is, like, constructing this doghouse out of nothingness. And, like, you know, but it actually came from an actual doghouse that was, like, down the block and, like, got, you know, reconstructed into this, like, tiny dog, you know, shiny new doghouse that's, like, she's bringing into the house or something like that. So we're going to see, like, once the X comes down, I think there's going to be, like, all sorts of weird shit, like, popping out of the city and, like, houses that are, like, half finished and, like, you know, but, like, there's going to be part of the town where they live is going to be pristine, you know, that might be, like, exactly the same as it was, but the rest of it's going to be, like, desolate.
I want to correct you there. Agnes comes in with the doghouse. Who constructed it? Who's the only person we've seen with power tools? Herb. Herb's at the top of the pyramid.
Follow the way, people.
I guess. I mean, that solves it right there.
Yep. Confirmed. We figured it out, guys. You don't have to watch the rest of the show now. We figured it out.
Done. Easy. As far as, like, weird. Herb's at the top. H. What does that stand for? Head. Same amount of letters as head of what? The snake. Well, you kill Herb, you kill the body.
Oh my god.
What else is a snake? A Hydra. Hydra has multiple heads. You cut off one head, two more show up. How many Herbs are there? How many Herbs are there?
There's many in Wanda's cabinet, which I'm sure we'll see at some point when she attempts to cook dinner, which we haven't seen since the first episode. So yeah, no, we can keep going on this forever, but let's not.
Yeah, we're getting close to, I think, wrap up time. We're doing pretty great. I think there was another note, not about Herb, Herb adjacent. What was it? I didn't write it down. Why did I? I have a
Dottie.
notebook.
That was a
I literally have
mistake.
a notebook. That was a
Mhm.
mistake.
While you're trying to figure that out, I have a question. So we got our Lagos commercial, which
Mhm.
as soon as it was pointed out to me what that's a reference to, I went, oh God, that's dark.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
Did anyone notice it came after a scene in the quote unquote present day? It came after Wanda's showdown with Sword and all the agents.
Mhm.
So what was it a break from? Is this Wanda going, because it wasn't a break from the show? So is that Wanda just like, fuck this, I need a break right now? We're going to go to commercial. Go to commercial.
Maybe, especially because it is a reaction because she has the showdown with Sword, and in the previous, like, one of the previous Sword scenes, that was when they brought up all of the, like, they used the word terrorist, and they were talking about how she and Pietro were radicalized through Hydra in Sokovia before they won the trust of the Avengers, and even since then everybody's had their eye on her because her powers are so specialized. So then the fact that she basically pops out, like, she breaks the reality herself to come out and be like, y'all need to back off. And then we go straight to a commercial that is specifically referencing, like, one of her big pivotal turn moments within the prior arcs of the MCU. Yeah, that's a solid call on, like, she has the moment of, like, I'm done, I need a break.
That makes sense. Also, have we seen? I feel like the
like her
who's,
influences.
The commander guy, like, he plays the same, like, role in, like, every show. I feel like I've seen him in, like, so many shows where he's like the guy who's like by the book, like, government agent leader or whatever, who, like, goes too far and then, like, gets put in his place. Like, I feel like that's been a thing, but I haven't, like, looked up his IMDb to, like, confirm that.
Yeah, Josh Stamberg is the actor.
Oh, so you think he's typecasted? Like,
yeah, like, a lot.
I mean, but you're kind of right. Like, he was one of the FBI agents in J. Edgar. He was in a big old chunk of. He's done some true crime reenactment stuff. I'm looking at his IMDb right now. Criminal Minds. Like, it looks like he's one of those guys that has kind of done the rounds on a lot of the, like, primetime TV, and it looks like he's probably just playing the, like, hello, I'm an entitled white douchebag, how are you? And not that his character here is specifically, like, the douchebag type, but it is definitely the, like, I am the high authority. And also, if we go back to last week when we started to get all the swords set up, there's clearly that established tension of, like, everybody kind of knows that Monica should be the one running Sword. But she wasn't she wasn't around, so he took it. But, like, there is clearly this, like, awareness also of him that, like, it should be her. She should have inherited this from her mother, and the only reason she didn't is because she wasn't there. And also that, like, tension of your mother's protocol that she set in place before she died is why you're not going back into space and you're doing field work instead. So they're setting up something interesting to play with there about, like, is Monica just gonna, like, say fuck this guy and take over? I'd be down for that. Is Jimmy gonna end up getting to be in charge of Sword? Because I'd be okay with Jimmy Woo takes over Sword so that Monica and Darcy can just be like, cool, you're on these guys, we're gonna go do science.
No, oh my god. I was just thinking about how this guy's typecasted. It's like, is this close to NCIS? Because we have, like, a spunky, sarcastic female lab doctor. We have the lead agent, which is Monica. We have, like, the backup partner, who is Jimmy Woo, and then we have a hard-nosed guy. Were they all put here because they were typecasted? Like, when it gets to modern day, does the entire world become WandaVision?
Oh.
When we get to the 2000s, it'll be CSI Westview.
Yeah.
They all look
Oh,
around
that
and
would
they're
be
just
so
like,
good.
God damn it. We all fell
Man.
for the trap. We just
Yeah.
fell right into the expectation.
I guess you could
Excuse me,
say this
FBI
place
agent.
is a marvel to behold.
Oh yeah. Oh man, I was out hiking and I found another dead body. Dun, dun.
That's the Law and Order universe.
Oh damn it.
That's down the road.
Yeah. I mean,
That'll show up in the.
technically, Law and Order universe can start in the next episode. That started in the 90s, so we
That's
could
true.
we could take a abrupt genre shift.
Richard Belzer, what are you doing here?
Oh my god. I would, you know what?
When does
That would be so
the
good.
MCU merge with the Tommy Westfall universe, and this whole thing takes place in a giant snow globe? When do we get there? Because that
See-
was the 80s.
Yep. Well, I was gonna say too, I swear to God, if Richard Belzer showed up as Munch and therefore integrated it into this already insane web of all of the primetime television in which, in which Munch exists as a character, oh God, I would die. I don't think it's gonna happen, but now I really want it to. That is my
would be
pipe dream.
amazing.
So, you know what? I'm having I'm remembering a tiny moment, and I think I don't know if it was you, Alandra, who told me about this or someone else. Spider-Gwen, no, Gwenpool. So Gwenpool. In Gwenpool, she talks to Doctor Strange about the alternate universe that she's supposed to be in, or the other alternate Gwens. And when Doctor Strange is looking at the multiverse, he stops at one and goes, huh, Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay. And then keeps going.
Yep.
And then we have, sorry, I'm just having moments like, wait, no, this is all going to happen. There will be an SVU-themed Marvel universe. It's happening. It's happening right before.
Well, I think the interesting thing that this brings up for me, and again, I don't think this is where the show is going, but it would be interesting if it did, is we're rapidly catching up to the present day. We've talked about that, and how does that affect? And does that mean that does that break the dome essentially? If we catch up to the present day, you can just walk in because it's progressing very rapidly. But then my question becomes: is the solution to that for whoever is running this, simulation or whatever, to just genre hop? Oh shit, we've hit the aughts. We can't go any further forward because then we're going to be in the future and we can't do that. So what if we just start shifting genres? We go from sitcom to crime show to kids show to what if we just start bopping through the genres as an attempt to maintain I'll call it the simulation, as an attempt to maintain the separated reality.
What's funny about that is that's the premise of the last season of Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Another TV series based on a group of superheroes. DC Universe this time, though.
Look,
Oof.
Marvel's been really good at the films. DC Universe has been really good at the TV shows, and they clearly just need to steal from each other to buff what they've had trouble with.
Yep.
Not that the Marvel Universe TV shows have been bad, but the DCU shows have done a lot better job of just doing the comic book show.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you know where this is going. If they're going to genre hop, I need my campy 60s Batman version of WandaVision.
Oh,
Yes.
That's what I need.
100%.
Bonus points if you can get Julie Newmar or someone to show up.
Yes! Oh,
That's
man,
all
I want it.
That'd be great. Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna because clearly Sword is gonna get more involved as the series goes on.
Definitely.
So maybe they're gonna become the antagonists of the television program, in a certain part, and maybe there's gonna be some tension there where the show is fighting them off, but or like plot contrivances are helping out Wanda and Vision and their family or something like that.
Maybe when we get to the aughts or the tens in the sitcom progression, we get a multi-episode arc.
Oh,
maybe that's the solution, because then that's when we start seeing arcs that cross over multiple episodes, or for that matter, maybe we get a straight up crossover episode with something else that's happening elsewhere in the world.
I can't wait for the 2010s episode where Wanda ends the conversation by minimizing the screen and then just like, let's just go straight to the next episode. No, wait, watch credits.
Oh, that's actually pretty solid, though. I'd be interested to see if the technology tracks when it goes to a streaming site concept.
Oh, you could piss off millions of Disney Plus viewers and just have a buffering logo.
I learned today how much I hate the maximized Disney Plus screen, because I apparently have never maximized Disney Plus while I'm watching it, and I'm like, how do I get out? There's no escape. My internet controls are gone. What the Disney? Stop! No,
their interface is terrible.
Just steal the interface from Netflix where it's functional. Oh my god.
Yeah, my mom got Disney Plus over the holidays, and she's like, "Oh yeah, the interface is not that great." I was like, "I hate to tell you this, Mom. This is an improvement. This is better than it was when it started."
Also, why can I not hover to get a description of information or something like that before I add it? Why do I have to click all the way through to look at what it is and then backtrack? It's not that hard.
I need to know if this may contain outdated cultural depictions.
I
need to know that going in. Is there tobacco depictions? Is there tobacco usage? I don't know.
I literally just want to be able to read a summary so I can tell if this is the Haley Mills movie I'm remembering or a different Haley Mills movie that I didn't watch as a child. Because they're all the same.
Just text me and I'll be like, no, you're thinking of Moon Spinners. That's it.
You're gonna get 4M texts being like, Tony, help me.
Okay, Pollyanna, then Parent Trap, then that.
Which 1970s Disney made-for-TV film am I thinking of? There was a cat and a bunch of stolen money.
I'm gonna go with The Cat from Outer Space. Is that the one you're thinking of?
Thank God.
Escape from Witch Mountain? I don't know.
This is interesting because I'm having no issues. But we're using a smart TV, and the smart TV is very easy to go through. It's super intuitive. This is amazing. I'm on a different plane of existence.
You're on the moon.
I have a Roku, and it's still it's not as it could, there could be some improvements. Again, your point, Alandra, of just do the Netflix thing.
Just steal the UI from somebody else who's been doing it.
Yeah, please.
No one cares. No.
Yeah. We just want it to work. That's all we want.
Here's my
I want to be able to see an episode list and just be able to click on the episode and be like, there.
Oh my god. Especially when I was binging The Simpsons when we started Disney Plus, I'm like, how the fuck do I get to the episode?
Right?
What the fuck? And then, of course, by the time that they fixed the cropped widescreen. By the time they fixed that, I had already gone past the HD era. I'm like,
of course.
So, here's my question. Just kind of looking ahead. So, for those of you who are watching this live or are listening to this live, so today is Super Bowl Sunday. They aired a commercial for Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Falcon and the Winter Soldier, yeah.
Right.
So I assume that's season 2 of MERS for us, right? Is that the next one?
I mean,
that was a discussion.
Is this a teaser for season 2 of MERS?
Yeah. Bird Guy and Metal Arm Dude hang out.
Cold military person.
I think the next thing after this is that you get to choose something that we all have to watch.
Well, yeah, that's the interstitial. Is after every season, you get to pick your favorite thing, and we all have to watch it.
I don't know. Which Haley Mills movie will we watch?
That darn cat! That darn cat!
I kind of like the idea of sticking with Disney Plus and make you watch just some random 30s short.
The Adventures of Davy Crockett.
Yeah. Which I don't think I've ever seen. So maybe no, I don't want to spend an hour every week going, oh my God, what did they say about Native Americans this week? Oh God.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think we covered everything. Does anyone else think is there any stone we haven't unturned at this point? I mean, we know Herb's in charge of everything.
Hashtag Herb's
Obviously.
But
I mean, I will say for next week, if they are doing a 90s episode, I think we're going to go, I guess it would be like a Roseanne or Married with Children, kind of sort of subverting the genre where, you know, the kids hate each other and all that. I would love it, though, if they went like a science
funny thing,
route
I was
and just like stuck in the minutia of what's the deal with daycare?
That would be great, honestly.
That would be pretty funny.
If we could just begin with Wanda on a bare stage doing that's hello, Agnes.
I'm actually thinking. I was having that thought, like where we go next, and I was thinking Married with Children for not Married with Children, Roseanne for quite a while, but I'm now thinking like, all right, no, what did I watch? And I didn't watch too much Roseanne. I remember watching Prince, and what was the one with Steve Urkel?
Family Matters.
Yeah, Family Matters.
Yeah.
What was that one called?
2, 3, 4.
Family Matters.
There it is.
So
I hope
like
that translated to
those
the screen,
two.
'cause that was super.
and then maybe Home Improvement.
Oh,
yeah,
Home
Home
Improvement.
Improvement.
That's an interesting
Yeah.
call, actually.
That's probably,
yeah,
I
you know
can see
what?
that show.
What happened?
His Home Improvement.
You're on the moon. You're very delayed. Don't worry,
about
we're
it.
talking.
Because Home Improvement is a Disney show, so you know
Yeah.
they really want which
Ooh.
means, which
Exactly.
means it will get really weird segues. We'll get outtakes over the end credits, and I guess that would mean Herb would only be seen from.
Herb and Agnes just appear over the fence.
Yeah.
Well, that's also funny because one of the things that I didn't expect, but I was kind of almost hoping would happen for the 80s episode was that we'd get something more like Cheers. Not necessarily as the full thing, but like if you get like Wanda's at home doing stuff, but then all of like Vision stuff is him like at the bar or doing something else. So I'd be interested to see if they switch to something that has more of a multiple location format than what we've already seen. Because so far we've had like the house, the yard, and the office. We've had a little bit of foray into the neighborhood in some of the early episodes, but I'd be interested to see if we have something else that has kind of a stock location feel, kind of in that way that Home Improvement.
Because that's the other thing that we're getting to is that like late 90s, and then once Friends hits. We start veering away from like the family sitcom and more the hot 20-somethings in the big city. So I am curious.
Clearly, we're spinning off into a Tommy and Billy go to college and meet the rest of the Young Adventures game. I win.
Yeah, we're gonna get like the Boy Meets World like spin-off with like Tommy and Billy and like that kind of thing.
Okay, I'm throwing out. It's not an Ian McKellen cameo. It's not any of those. It's William Daniels as Mr. Feeney.
Yes.
We have been through so much as a nation in the last year. This
That's
is
all
what
we
This is. You want to talk unity? You want to talk unity? William Daniels as Mr. Feeney.
The hero we need and deserve.
Yeah, no, I'm down for that. That is what we need.
Yes, that's my new. Now I will say this because we know was it next episode is the Halloween episode, and Roseanne loved doing their Halloween episodes every year.
True.
So I feel like that's also in the running. Or excuse me, the Connors.
Yes.
Don't call it Roseanne anymore.
Right. Oh yeah. And yeah, they're also just...
Alandra, you hold on to the Joss Whedon rant. I'll do the Roseanne.
Deal. They're both coming in hot next week.
I was just gonna say that the internet has already beaten us to some of these. There are some good photoshops out there of like Vision as like with Ted Bundy
Al Bundy.
Al Bundy. Yeah, I was like Ted Bundy's the murderer. I was like, wait a minute.
Vision as Ted,
Ted Bundy?
Now
Yeah.
is hilarious. That's a whole different conversation. I can go off on that for a while.
Right? Is that,
Yeah. Al Bundy and like Urkel showing up instead of Pietro at the end and stuff like that. So it's out there if you look
I
for
wonder
it.
if in the 90s someone will have a catchphrase.
Oh,
It's
gonna be
think
Agnes.
Yeah, it has to be Agnes, right?
Yeah.
every time
Get
she
out
shows up
here
and her
with
just
that.
parting line or whatever.
Yeah.
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 And Vision's gonna be the entire time like, why does she keep saying that? Why is this? Why does she keep saying that? I was gonna be like, saying what?
Yeah.
Why does Urkel keep showing up? The show was about Carl.
Yeah.
Why
Why is the
Harry-
neighbor always here?
Why is everyone doing the Urkel?
Oh my god.
Famous dance move.
I'll leave it on this.
Wow.
Go to YouTube. B. Arthur does the Urkel. It's a thing that existed in the 90s. It is worth your time.
Wow. Okay.
And she
All right.
kind of commits. She's not getting paid enough to fully commit. It's like for an award show or something. But she's like, whatever. The kids seem to like this. So I'll do the Urkel, I guess. Is this right?
All right. I think we're at hour 40. I think we're at a great stopping point. There's no more. Thank you for watching. This has been Manly Unicorns Require Stables. Thank you. You can find me on Questing Luke on Instagram. You can look up Questing Group on Discord. You could that's Questing Luke or Questing Group is wherever you can find me. Otis, where can they find you?
You can find me at Mugs Mahandra on Twitter and at Mahandra on Instagram. I'm also on Mixcloud, SoundCloud. If you see Feyhd, that might be me gaming somewhere. Who knows? That's where I'm at.
Tony, where can they find you?
Find me on Instagram at Tony Cirimele, TonyCirimele. And you can also read my blog, thehorseshead.blog. It's that one right there. It's my film blog where I watch every movie on the National Film Registry. Check it out.
And Alandra.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at Lady Bedivere, or on TikTok at Milady Bedivere. That's Lady Bedivere with an M in front of it. Where I yell about Dungeons and Dragons and a lot of other nerdy things, and occasionally write cool stuff.
Cool. Thank you so much for sticking in with us, all 2 viewers and all 16 followers and all 250 people who clicked in and clicked away. This has been a pleasure. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
And then Luke died.
Yeah,
Oh,
so we're
God.
still on stream.
This is why you stay after the credits.
Yeah, this is our post-credit scene. Very MCU of us. Is this also the point where I point out that I really wish that we'd gotten a Golden Girls episode of WandaVision? Because I know it doesn't fit, but it would have been hilarious.